Jerry, it's all you.
Good morning. It is April the 15th, tax date 2026. We're in Nashville at the Tennessee Tower, Room K, for our monthly meeting of the Inmate Disciplinary Oversight Board. Present in the room today is Ms. Betsy Wiseman, Dr. Mary Karpos, Mr. Dale Carr, myself. As far as the board members, virtual, we have Ms. Heather Doyle, Mr. Mike Dunn, and Mr. Mike Sharon virtual. So we do have a quorum. Mr. Dunn, would you mind leading us in an opening prayer, sir?
I would be honored to. Thank you, Chairman. Let's pray, everyone. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning with thankful hearts for all the blessings of life that you've given us. We thank you for your love and your grace and your goodness to us. And we thank you for our employment, all of our families, all of our friends. And we just ask your blessings on us today, blessings on the fellowship, blessings on the meeting. And Lord, may our thoughts be with what you would have us to do. We pray for justice. We pray for protection for our workers inside the prisons throughout the state and protection on the inmates as they continue to serve their time. We ask you to be with the families of have loved ones inside the institutions, bring them a peace and an understanding and patience. Lord, be with our leaders as they continue to make just decisions for what should go on. And we ask you to be with our decisions today in this board meeting. Thank you once again for the free pardon of sin and all the blessings of life. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All it's all yours.
Great, thank you. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Mr. Dunn, for what is always a wonderful opening prayer. Let's get going here. First item of business is to review and approve the minutes from our last meeting in March. They were previously distributed to board members and the video is online. So if there's no discussion regarding those, I can entertain a motion to approve those minutes from March.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, everybody. All right, let's do a quick recap. Since our last meeting, the big news is legislative session continues to occur. And our sunset went to the House floor on Monday. That session ran long, so I think they finished up without getting to our item. Waiting to be rescheduled for the House vote, but that should happen probably later this week, I would suspect, and that should go well. Shouldn't be any issues with that. So as that situation develops, I'll let everybody know. We received some training slides from TDOC. Those got distributed. If you have any questions about those, please send them to me and we can get more slides or get that figured out if there's any issues with that. This past month, I've gotten a lot of really good questions from the board members regarding referrals, regarding pending cases. So I really appreciate those. Any additional information you need to conduct the reviews, didn't send those my way. And I really appreciate that engagement. I think it keeps TDOC honest and facilities honest. So that's great work. Also want to commend the appeal subcommittee for the work that they do. They continue to meet regularly and finish up those appeals and to get those decisions out to the inmates. And I think that's an important part of what we do. Also appreciate all of the inmates that, all of the names that get sent over regarding prolific offenders. Those are sent over to the Board of Parole. I get great feedback from their executive director over there. They appreciate that continuing engagement and information. So all good stuff. And I don't have anything else. We'll move on quickly to outstanding matters. I think the big one continues to be the memorandum of understanding that we're working with TDOC to finalize. I'll give it to our GC. Any significant or potential update on that?
I'm waiting to hear back from Liberty. She did follow up with me and said she was trying to meet with their leadership, but they had been slammed, I'm guessing because of the legislative session. But that they were going to be meeting some point in this middle of the month. So
Okay, all
as
right.
soon as I hear back from her, I will let you know.
Okay, great. Hopefully we'll have some resolution to that.
Well,
before
I
the next
think
public
we're,
meeting.
yeah, I think we're really, really close. There were a couple of things he was going to clean up language wise, but I think substantive we're done.
Okay, good deal. Great.
Question.
Yeah.
Is there a timeline in terms of when this memorandum or draft will be viewed with the board members?
As soon as, what we had decided to do was that, she wanted to get their people on board. And then as soon as I have that back and, I'll toss it to Mike.
We can distribute it for review. So once we know we're close enough that it makes sense to distribute it to everybody, we'll get.
But it's really just setting, it's just a level set, and it's not binding on anybody.
Yeah, there isn't much we can put in there, but I think it helps. It's gonna be good, especially as the
Yeah.
transition occurs later this year for, new leadership, over there. Keeping some things in line with what we've been able to get to this point. Okay, one of the things that we'll have to start doing, I think, after the legislative session is, and we'll have these internal discussions, but prioritize the second quarter of this year and the remainder of this year. I think it'd be good for board leadership, board members, the board as a whole to sit down and kind of go through what we want to accomplish this year, where we want to put our efforts and engagement and, for example, site visits and those types of things. So I look forward to us doing that once the session is completed. And I think we've got a good handle on what everything looks like. I'm looking forward to doing that the second quarter of this year. Spoke with TDOC about receiving receipts every time they're able to update their system with our action forms. They are in the process of hiring additional staff. That's the feedback we got was that's where the difficulty lies. So we'll continue to track their hiring practices so that once they have some people available who can liaison between us more directly, we should be able to work out a system where they've given us receipts for updates, and then we'll be in a better position to know what's been updated and what's still pending and keep track of those things. So we'll continue to have those discussions. And that's it. That's it for the outstanding matters. Okay, let's move to our fourth item, which is matters that have been approved from last month and days removed by the board. So this is a little bit different from what we've done previously. We're trying to get, I think, some feedback that was given last time was that a more comprehensive format would be helpful. So if you look at tab 2, this is sort of the new format, just to give everybody a more complete overview of what we've been able to do this year and specifically last month. So you can see in January, we distributed 1,310 incidents for initial review. A little over 400 of those were approved. And then at the January board meeting, we removed a little over 62,000 additional days from inmates. We're going to discuss, I think, our February incidents today. So the days removed numbers will be updated following this meeting, but 1,389 incidents were distributed in February, 733 were approved. And then our March incidents got distributed a few weeks ago, and we had 1,285. And I do want to highlight that 1,285 number. That's a good number. I mean, if we can continue to see the overall number of incidents continue to be reduced, I think it demonstrates a behavioral change that we're all looking for from the inmates. So you can even see from the beginning of this year, 1,310, 1,389, and then 1,285. Last year, in the beginning of 2025, those numbers for some months were close to 1,800, 1,700. So we continue to see a positive trend line when it comes to overall Class A incidents. And I believe, and I think most people on the board, anyone who pays attention to what we're doing, can attribute at least some of that behavioral productivity to what we're doing. So really great job. Thank you everybody for that. I think the numbers demonstrate back up some of the things that maybe we're seeing anecdotally. So anyway, if everyone's good with that, we can entertain a motion to move this item into the record, and then
Motion to approve.
motion made, seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. And again, you know, what we do here is sort of a continuous evolution. So if this format doesn't work, or if there are other ideas, please let me know. We'll continue to evolve so that we're giving you all and others the information that they need to understand all the hard work that's being accomplished and the success we're having. So, but if there's no comment on that, we'll continue with this format. But if at any time people want to do some different things, just let me know. Happy to do that. Okay. Well, let's get right into the docket review then. I believe our chairman is the first board member to present. Chairman Vastbinder, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. For my February cases, after reviewing the whole lot of cases, I had 123 cases that were okay. I had 11 that were Bs instead of As, 40 dismissed, 18 not okays, 6 not guilties, and then I had 11 others. The others were either death or rewrite, and I still have 7 pending, and 2 of those having to wait on information from TDOC to find out how much time was taken because it was blank. But on my docket, the D boards took 147 months. I took an additional 75 months from, I'm giving back on 2 individuals, 3 months apiece, so 6 months. So it ended up being a total of 216 months taken. And those were the cases from Deborah Johnson, Hardeman, Northeast, South Central, Special Needs, Whiteville, and West End State Prison. And if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. If not, I'd like to ask that these be moved into the record.
Motion to approve.
6 not guilty. A lot, isn't it? I'll see it from time to time, but
Yeah, some months they'll put not guilty and some
Right.
they don't. They're supposed to be, they say they're supposed to be making them put a lot more.
Oh, really?
Is in there, but
instead of dismiss.
Thank you, sir. We do have a motion from Mr. Sheeran. Do we have second? Seconded. Okay, any discussion on the docket? Okay, hearing none. To a vote, all in favor of approving Chairman's docket for this month, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, sir. Okay, we do have one board member who is not able to be with us today. Mr. Frank could not make it, but he submitted his results. And I think, Chairman Vastbinder, you're offering to present those in Mr. Frank's stead, is that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can present the docket. I think he has submitted 15 cases. I don't have the full month, but the D board had taken 91 months. Lee has taken an additional 80 months. He's got one case that he's given back 3 months, so that gives a total of 168 months that he would be taken away on his docket.
Okay, great. And I know these were previously distributed, so hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at them. And if they did have any questions for Mr. Frank, they were able to get those over to him. But if there's no
Motion to
questions,
approve.
Mr. Vastbinder, we have a motion.
Second.
Motion is seconded. All in favor of approving Mr. Frank's docket for incidents occurring in February, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Bassmider, for doing that for Mr. Frank. I'm sure he appreciates that. Okay, we will move on to our next board member, Ms. Wiseman.
Okay. I had 22 incidents that I did not agree with the D board. Seems like it's always the same few facilities that I have issues with.
Yeah.
Particularly Northwest, Riverbend, Whiteville, and West Tennessee seem to like not always comply with the matrix, but, so I took, well, let's see, the D board originally took 94 months away. I took an additional 185, returned 18. And then the total number of credits removed after ID adjustment was 397. So I don't know if y'all have any questions.
Can you say those facilities again that you mentioned were having some issues with the new matrix?
To me, I see the same ones every month. I mean, there were a few from Bledsoe, a few from Hardeman, but like a bunch from Northwest, a bunch from Riverbend, Whiteville, and West Tennessee always, but I have trouble with those last two. In many cases every time.
Okay.
Northeast has been slow the last 2 months.
Really?
Slow.
So, you know, they're definitely improving. Like Jerry and I were talking yesterday, and I mean, night and day from a few months ago. I think they're doing well complying with the matrix, but the certain facilities, at least the ones I review, seem to have issues almost every time.
Okay. And are those issues similar in terms of too many are getting dismissed or they're just not getting
A lot of
a
dismissals,
lot
but
of
also,
pendings?
and I didn't count
Or are they finishing them and they're just outside
They're
of
just
the
outside the
guidelines?
matrix.
Got it.
usually, under,
Usually under, so they're
I'm trying
not,
to figure out how to say that, like under, not
Yeah.
taking enough away.
got it.
And I did have 3 that I returned 6 months each, 2 from Whiteville and 1 from Northwest. But overall, I love the new matrix, and I think overall, in general, they're doing quite well.
Okay. And when you say the new matrix, you mean version 4, the most updated?
Yes. Yes.
Great, thank you.
Um,
Okay,
Motion to approve. Second.
motion made, seconded. Any comment or discussion for Ms. Wiseman and her docket? Okay, all in favor of approving the docket for February incidents from Ms. Wiseman, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. And Chairman, I apologize that I didn't give you an opportunity to go through any comments you may have had or things you might be seeing from the last month that you think are noteworthy.
Now, what Ms. Wiseman was saying, we've got a few that are slow. Did find out, actually by accident, while looking at the DA referrals, it was a homicide case. Couldn't find it anywhere in Homeless. So it was from Whiteville. So I talked to them at Whiteville, and actually the day I talked to them, they got the death report back from autopsy, and the way they explained it is that they could go ahead and refer the case to the DA by the investigators' information that they got. But before they can put it into Thomas as a homicide, they've got to have the report back on the autopsy. So they did. They put it in as a homicide on the same day, but
Just takes a while.
it takes a while sometimes. And I think we've got one that it's been pending 500 days.
Yeah, I
in the
do.
DOA.
Mr. Sheridan, is that one of your cases that's been pending for quite a while for the investigation? Mike might have stepped away, but yeah, I think we do have another one. Yeah, that's.
Are they waiting on the autopsy on
Repeat
that?
that. I'm sorry, Mike. I couldn't get off mute. Repeat that.
We're talking about investigations that are pending for quite a while. And there was a local district attorney referral for a homicide incident that hadn't been uploaded into the eTOMA system. And Chairman Bassmider was able to talk to, I believe it was the contract administrator, compliance coordinator over at Whiteville, was it? And to get some more information on that incident. But he was highlighting the fact that you had identified an incident that has been pending for, I think, somewhere around 500 days because of the investigation continues to wait for additional, is it medical information that they're waiting on?
Yes, 17 plus months, very frustrating. They say they're waiting for a medical, the report from the medical examiner, which in my limited experience, 30 to 60 days is a long time to wait for a death certificate from them. So I'm not really sure what's going on, but yes, November of 2024, I've got a case that's still pending.
Yeah, okay.
What facility is that?
I'm sorry?
Where is this? I'm just wondering what.
Northeast.
Yeah, so I mean, these are the types of things I really appreciate, and I think sometimes go unnoticed from you all. Ability to continue to track these things and see and make sure that nothing's falling through the cracks. So, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Sharon, for doing that and finding those. And we will get those answers so that gets resolved.
That's a good question. Just so Chairman, I understand, the case that you were just talking about. So were they saying that they don't enter it into Thomas even as a pending investigation?
They
Or
do it,
did do the
they
PIN?
did the PEIN, but they won't change it to a homicide until after they get the report. And it was Chris Braun is who I talked, explained that.
So, how does that affect the disciplinary process?
The number ends up, and this falls into some of these numbers that say, I pulled all the February incidents. Well, obviously that one happened in February, but it was last Wednesday or Thursday, so it would have been, it got put back on the day that it happened in February, but it got put in from April. So
the offense code was changed from PIN to HOM? Right, but the actual incident date is still the date that the
State
PIN was entered.
PIN,
So, but the disciplinary hearing isn't happening
until they change it to the.
until, so
Okay.
just from a policy perspective, how does that meet the policy expectations for within what timeframes because of due process, the inmate's incident is being heard?
That I'm not sure, though, I could just give you a thought on it, since it's not technically written until that day, then it could be served on the inmate. Say if it was written, say, April the 8th last week, they have 48 hours to serve it on the inmate, and then they would get it into the due process days from that. But that's just a guess. I
Yeah,
don't know.
because policy says that once an incident occurs, it has to be entered and service has to be made within a certain time frame to meet their due process, and that a hearing has to be held in relationship to that service. But what you're describing is withholding the service and the beginning of the clock for due process until they've gathered the information through their investigation.
Right, and to top it off, to make things even more complicated, is the inmate is transferred from Whiteville to Riverbend, so that changes.
Yeah, it has to be heard at the holding facility. And all that's in policy, but what's not in policy is what you're just describing. This discretion to choose when they serve the incident rather than by virtue of the fact that they moved the person, the incident occurred. And so I'm just interested, because it relates to a case that I have upcoming in my February cases, similar. And there are multiple offenders named in the incident, but because it's PIN, they're well past what policy says in terms of service and the accomplishment of the disciplinary hearing. So I'm just wondering, from an oversight position, what, if any, concerns, recommendations this body might have with regard to, here's your policies, but your practice isn't matching your policies.
Right. That's something we could probably get an answer probably real quick, Mike Ward, EDOC, since he's the.
Do we want to ask them how they're
Your
interpreting those?
lawyer can answer the question from the statutes that set up this board. It's
Okay.
outside the scope.
Okay, so,
Well, I mean, we're not here to govern their policy. We're here to review the result.
okay.
I thought we were supposed to look at whether or not the policies were being complied with. Did I misread that memo?
Well, it sounds like this might be, it's good that we've identified these incidents. And it's good that we've identified perhaps incidents that are not, don't fit neatly inside of the policy expectations. Why don't we, set up an opportunity to discuss this issue more completely? Just because we're in the middle of dockets right now, and it sounds like there's some good points about there might be some gaps in a policy, and then, you know, where do we fit in, if at all, into fixing those gaps, identifying those gaps, communicating those gaps, or not. I think that's a really important discussion, and I think that's why it's so important that we identify these types of incidents that don't fit neatly into what happens on a daily basis. But instead of trying to solve that now in the middle of the dockets, why don't we do this? Why don't we think about that? And then we'll get through the dockets. And then when we get to the end of the meeting, we can revisit, what do we want to do? Do we want to hash it out now? Do we want to set up another meeting where this conversation is on the agenda? We can reach out to, you know, whoever, and try to get some more information from that side. Steve, you can, you know, look at it and see, and then we can all come together and kind of think about what the best thing we want to do, and then we'll have some proposals and we can move forward with language and all that kind of stuff. How does that sound to everybody?
Well, are you talking about her question about
Yes.
whether it's inside the scope of the statute or not?
Well, I think it's all of that. So that's
I
why.
think that's the initial.
Well, that's right,
discussion.
that's right. But depending on that answer, it begs further questions. And so, you know, we could get into it now, but we're sort of in the middle of dockets. And so, you know, how much do we want to pivot to having that discussion, which could lead in several branches? Or do we want to finish dockets and then take up, you know, that issue, which I think you're identifying could be complex very quickly?
Yes, I understand, I appreciate it, I agree, let's finish the dockets, but maybe since the memo went out this week, and maybe when we're done, we could go into some executive session and talk.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why don't we think about
Okay,
how
I
we
thought you
want
meant
to.
at a further.
Well, I'm just saying, for the rest of, once we're through dockets, we'll pivot back to this, and then I'll ask everybody what they want to do. We can continue the meeting on that issue, or we can reschedule it, or we can move to executive. Like, we have some options, but I don't want to get too far away from
Yeah.
the agenda.
Okay.
But there is an opportunity in the agenda to, after the public comment, to do closing notes. We can kind of, you know, so I think an executive session is one idea. Someone else may say, well, let's do this or whatever. So if that's okay, it'll give everybody, so everybody doesn't feel like they're on the clock right now
Right.
to answer.
Okay.
For the rest of this meeting, just kind of keep it in the back of your mind, then we'll come back to it before we adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
Is that okay with everybody? Okay, well, I do appreciate, you all bringing up that issue. I think it's something, I think that's exactly what we're here for, to identify this stuff. So thank you, Chairman, thank you, Mr. Sharon, for continuing to identify those cases, and for the work that you're doing in that regard. Okay, so we'll get back on the agenda as we think a little bit more about how we want to approach that question and that issue. If there's nothing else from Ms. Wiseman, then I think we have Mr. Carr.
Hello. Do we want to go back to my January or?
Well, whatever's in the packet is kind of what we're prepared for.
Yeah, well, I've
So
got
we have
January in
January and we have February from you, so
Yeah.
but it's your docket, however you want to present it is what we'll take up,
Well, we'll stick up January then if anybody has any questions on January docket.
okay?
Um,
All right, so Mr. Carr's January docket is available to everybody under his tab. You can either
Well, I
talk
had,
about it or we can just move to a motion.
well, I mean, whatever you want to do. I had several, things that I did. I had several instances that were closed facial fist, like 115 there where they hit them hard and everything. I have several here that I've got, explanations on if anybody has any questions on them. One down there where I did take 24, he stabbed the female officer and slung her head into the body of the cell block and all like that. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to go over them. But I had several. Seems like I'm catching some bad cases anymore, especially in February.
Lucky.
I'll make a motion to approve January.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
to approve,
Second.
seconded. Okay, any discussion on what's included in Mr. Carr's January incident docket? Okay, hearing none, we can move to a vote. All in favor of approving the January docket for January incidents for Mr. Carr, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you, sir. If you want to go into your February docket.
Okay, yeah, I've got, my February docket is, as you can see, get over here to it. Well, as you can see, I had a lengthy docket right here, and the D board took 906 days off, and I added another 675 for a total of 1,581, and I had several, and I did do some at the front up there with the salt that got assaulted and everything on the weapons and everything. I did go to 36 months on those. I guess I was looking at the bottom part where they said, I thought it said last time that you could look at that and do some additional time on that, but then we got a memorandum, so I'm at the will of the committee on this right now. If anybody has any questions right now.
Okay, well, we can either take up questions or we can go into a motion and then do questions.
Make a motion that we accept Mr. Carr's February docket.
Okay, motion made.
Second.
Okay, seconded. Okay, any discussion on any of the specific incidents in the February docket from Mr. Carr?
Yes, after, reading the memorandum that Steve had given us on the matrix, by my understanding, it looks like the cases that Dale has moved to 36 or 30, if they were just brought back down to 24, that would be technically inside.
That would be fine with the matrix.
That's,
So it looks like are you talking about the 6 cases where it says matrix and then 36 months?
yes, sir, there's the ones on the first page, and then there's a 30, down below that. It came out of Morgan, and then on the next page, South Central, there were several 36s. And
What-
then,
No, I'm sorry, I interrupted you though.
and then there's 130 in Whiteman.
What about, there's like at Hardeman County, he took 27 months in AOW.
Yeah, to me, by reading the reasoning on the new matrix, to me, anything that's over 24 needs to come back down to 24.
Okay.
That
So
would-
like that's outside.
Yeah, that would be outside.
I will say this, I understand what you're doing on that one. We can have this discussion later, and I'm okay with that.
to come back like this, but I do notice, well, when we get to the memorandum, I can make more questions on that, but it seems that TDOC, when they made this new matrix, they made it harder for us to go extra months, you know what I'm saying? And, we'll have a discussion later, and next month, when I look at mine, we'll go and look at them a little closer and everything like that. We'll have this discussion on the memorandum. And I wanted to add one thing there on those two that I have at the bottom. I know we had a motion to accept, but on the two that I had gave back credits to, me and Sharon had a long talk about those. I'd like to just take those off my docket.
Okay, which two?
The two at the very bottom where I give them back the credits there, those 2 6.
Okay.
Just take those off the docket.
Okay, so those are being voluntarily removed.
Voluntary remove, yeah, for me.
Are you looking at putting them back on the docket at a later date or just
Nope.
take them off?
Take them off.
Okay, okay, great. Okay, and going back to a couple of things, Ms. Wiseman, you identified one where there was 27 months?
On the first page from Hardeman County, is the second incident on this docket for February.
No, that's, yeah.
Yeah, well, if it goes back to 24, as Mr. Jefferson said, we'll go back to 24.
Yeah, I don't-
That's the loss of credits, the matrix on the
Oh,
far
I'm
right.
sorry, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Well,
So is,
So I'd like to
isn't
ask
that
a
what he
question.
took away?
well, just one
Yeah, I'm
second,
sorry.
Carmen. I just want to make sure we've identified all the ones that we're sort
So
of.
that far right column, and he's saying anything that's over 24 in the far right column would be adjusted down to 24.
Okay.
I was just going by, let me try to explain this. I don't mean any
Sure,
disrespect
sure,
to
no, no,
anybody.
no, no, no,
I wasn't here in February and I noticed that Mr. Steve had said that we probably at one time could use that bottom, or maybe I misunderstood when I was watching, that we could use that bottom sentence there to increase the penalties. And that's what I was trying to do on that. But maybe since then
Yeah, the new matrix removed that.
well, what was discussion in February where you went out of the meeting to come back in and said we could use that bottom? Was that on the old matrix?
It was on the old.
Okay, well, see, I had that all mixed up. Okay,
And that's what my question is about, Steve.
that's my only
Yeah,
mistake
that's,
issue.
that's what my question is about, because now on this version 4, up at the very top where the asterisk is, it says the imposition of any harsher penalty. It doesn't say within the context of 24 months. It says the imposition of any harsher penalty may be sustained only if the offense involved a death or assault with serious injury to others and is justified in the disciplinary hearing officer's written findings by an overwhelming or substantial reason. So my reading of this, and we have got my February docket, that this says nothing different than what that note at the bottom said on the previous version.
Okay, so just so everybody knows, a copy of the version 4 matrix is in your packet if you need it, okay? Or laminated for those A+ students, for those Gold Star students. And what we're talking about is, there are certain cases, certain incidents where, some board members or everybody might want to exceed the 24-month range, which if everybody looks on the version of the new matrix, there's a note there, a portion, it talks about the highest disciplinary class in the offender's history, last 18 months, and it identifies the number of offenses, can incur 18 to 24 months of removal time. So I think everybody agrees that for those incidents, you can go up to 24 months.
But
Right.
only for
Well, but-
that type of incident, the
But that's not,
delineated,
that's not the
right?
point that I'm making.
No, I know, I
I'm
just wanna make sure
saying-
that we do agree on that.
But I have a question
I'm
about
not,
that before you.
I'm not saying that we agree.
So
on
we agree on nothing.
But that doesn't happen to be it. My only
Whoa, 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 whoa.
point,
But just for those
Just,
incidents,
well,
right?
that's what I'm trying to clarify.
but
Because I
I'd
think
like
some
to
of
make,
those have this
I'd like to
kind of-
finish my point with Steve. The old version had the note at the bottom. The exact same language is now at the top of the new version. So to Mr. Carr's point,
Yeah.
you were saying, or you were under the impression that now that note at the bottom isn't on the matrix. It's absolutely, the exact same language is still there. It's just now at the top. So,
And yes, and you're correct. I misspoke there, but I do think that other caps it out.
Okay, so that's why,
We can
I
talk about that.
know you're against everything, but what I'm trying to do is I'm
Wait,
trying to
time
narrow,
out, time
I'm
out.
trying to narrow.
I'd like to time
the
out right here.
Scope of the conversation.
I don't want to be characterized as against everything.
But what I'm
Mr.
trying to do is I'm
Please
trying
don't
to
make personal
narrow
remarks
the-
against me.
I'm
in
trying
this
to
meeting.
narrow the conversation so we understand what everybody is talking about.
It doesn't have to
So,
include a disparaging
there's-
comment about me.
There's a portion of the matrix that highlights certain offenses that can go up to 24 months of removal. Then there's another portion of the matrix that may complicate or offset that language. And what we're talking about is how those two portions interact with each other to guideline what the board members may or may not do on certain cases. And I think it can be complicated because there's a number of questions there.
Sure.
The questions that we need to look at are that portion that identifies these offenses and then offers a scope in between of 18 to 24 months. Does the second portion above that only apply to those offenses, or does it apply to all the offenses? And then if it does apply to just those offenses, does it allow for an increase beyond the 24 months? Now, before we get into all of that, do we want to discuss the memorandum and these guidelines now? Do we want to move into an executive session? Or do we want to present an opportunity for the board to have a discussion outside of this meeting right now? Because this could continue for quite a while. So again, if we want to stay on just the dockets and the things we do agree on, we can do that. Or we can have an open discussion now about these questions, or we can move to an executive session.
What is the executive session?
The executive session would be an internal discussion where we get legal advice from our counsel on a question offline.
Okay.
So those are the three options. So before we continue to talk about this, what does everybody want to do for these questions now? Those are the options. We can move forward with Mr. Carr's docket on the incidents that don't involve these questions. We can move into an executive session to discuss our counsel's advice on those incidents, including his advisory memorandum. Or we can take up the incidents that don't include these questions and then plan for another session where we talk more totally about that.
Let's take up what doesn't include that and then go on with the docket. Do the same thing. If anybody else says anything, we can go into executive session, discuss and figure out what's going on.
So do you want to do the executive session, or do you want to finish this
I want
meeting?
to finish the docket.
Finish the docket, and
Finish the docket.
so
Finish the docket.
take
Because
off
there's a
those
motion.
incidents that we're discussing.
Mhm.
Make a motion for the incidents that everybody agrees on.
Right.
And then at the end of this meeting, we'll discuss when we want to take up those incidents again.
Sure.
Okay,
But I'd like to have the executive session today,
you'd like to have the
at the
executive
end
session
of, after we
at
finish
the
the
end of
docket.
this.
Is that
Okay,
what we-
Yeah, that's fine with me too.
Is
I
that
have
okay?
a question about executive session. So what is it about what we're going to discuss that the public can't hear?
well, I'll let our attorney
Advice
get
from our
into it,
counsel.
but the Open Meetings Act allows for legal advice to be given in an executive session. So
No,
if
but I
we're,
mean, all legal advice
Yes.
or?
And
Because he's been asked to make comment in this meeting already without executive session, so I'm just trying to understand which kind of deferring to him for input
it's
should be in the public, which shouldn't. I mean, I personally don't know. I'm just asking.
attorney-client privilege, which is what we're kind of talking here, is the client's, meaning the board's, right? You know, it's not mine. I will tell you, I think we should have this discussion offline. But Yeah, I mean, but I
think-
think having it publicly destroys attorney-client confidence.
I think what Dr. Carpos is asking is when a question is posed to you, does that always have to be in an executive session?
No.
Or can it be in public? And at what point does that, is it preferred to be
Well-
an executive session question or not?
If it was a question that was posed to me that I felt, you know, not sure how to put this, but that I felt was better not publicly discussed, I would say so.
Okay,
So, you know, the offhand question here and there that I'm comfortable answering.
so any question can be posed to you.
Sure.
And then it's a matter of whether the board wants to have that question answered in an executive session or not.
Yes.
Okay. Does that answer that question?
That answers it. I appreciate you clarifying that because it was unclear to me. So now I do have a second question, if you don't mind. Not for you personally, but for us all in general as board members. I'm looking forward to being able to hear the advice and discuss the advice. What, at some point, I would like, and I'm sure we would all agree, we want the public to understand what we have decided and why we've decided what we've decided. And so how do we thread that needle?
Well, the decision should actually be public. The advice should be private.
And the discussion about the decision and voting on the decision is public, but privately, you're going to give us some insight.
Right, and I think it allows you all to ask me questions that, you know,
Yes.
Understand. Some might go, well, this is a stupid question, but I'm gonna ask it. Yeah. But, yeah, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, great. So I think what we'll do is we'll move forward with those incidents that, I think are not, problematic. And then at the end of the meeting, once we've gone through everybody's dockets, we'll revisit, both questions. The question that, regarding, policy and how we want to approach that, and then the question of whether or not we want to move into an executive session to discuss, the new version 4 matrix interpretation. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so, we have a motion made right now, and it's been seconded to approve the entirety of Mr. Carr's February docket. Mr. Carr, do you want to voluntarily move those incidents that we will discussing at a later date out of your docket?
Sure.
Okay, now I'm identifying 7 incidents.
There's
Yeah, what
13.
There's 13
There's
incidents.
13.
Yeah.
There's 13.
I volunteer
So
to move those out.
I'll amend the motion. I made the motion to accept the docket. I'll amend the motion to accept all but 13.
Can we identify those 13?
Yes, absolutely. So incident number 1709453. 1709.
Wait, I'm sorry, let me just find that one.
It's the very first one on the docket. February. Pardon
I
me?
may not have.
Oh, I wasn't looking at this page. Okay, thank you, I'm sorry. So, okay, got it.
Okay, so it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first 5.
Yep.
On page 1, which are all at Hardeman. And then the first one at Morgan.
Yep.
Uh-huh. And then on the second, did I miss?
Yeah, Dr. Harper's gonna impose one thing. After the Hardeman, after the assault, there is a position of a cell phone that went to 24.
Okay, so you want to put that one there?
Please,
Okay.
that would be.
All right, so add that to the amendment, okay? So that would be the first, so that would be number 14, right? Okay, so
Yes, then
2,
there's one more.
4, so that's the first 6
Got it,
on that page. And then the first one on Morgan that has a 30 month,
got it.
Just,
and that's all on the first page, Chairman.
yes, well, actually, there's one more on the first page. It would be the first one. Let me see if they line up. Yeah, first one at Northeast, its possession of a cell phone, it went to 24.
Okay,
And
so
that-
that'll be 15 total.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Stock?
Yep.
Yep. And then the second page, beginning with the third one on South Central. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total at South Central.
Yep.
And then, third from the bottom, Whiteville.
Got it.
Anything else, Chairman, on the page? Okay, so that's 15 total?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm in my motion.
That's fine. Good.
To approve Mr. Carr's February docket without the 15 aforementioned cases.
Amend the second.
Okay. Seconded. Any discussion about that motion with the amendment?
And you took those two off.
I thought, yeah, I'm just taking them, we're not revisiting those, right? Okay. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion passes. Okay, great, thank you. I think that will make it cleaner, when we're able to do the action forms and come together and all that. Just want to give Ms. Carr an opportunity, any issues, comments, anything noteworthy from this month in particular that you think is worth highlighting and informing TDOC about? Or the public or whoever?
It's just, we're having more assaults on staff. I mean, I don't know why, but we're having more assaults on staff, for some reason or another. Maybe it's just the time of the year, whatever, but it's about the same. You're finding that the assaults and all like that are coming, like Miss Betsy said, from certain prisons, and it's just a pattern, so I'll stick with that.
Any facilities you want to highlight in particular, or are you just seeing assaults on staff across the board?
Across the board, I mean, Parliament, Bible, motions.
Okay, great. All right. Well, if there's nothing more, we'll move forward with the docket agenda. And Mr. Sheeran, I think your docket is next.
Thank you, Edie Stahl, and good morning again to everyone.
Morning.
For my February cases, I reviewed a total of 155 cases involving 206 inmates. Still have quite a few pending for last month, 16 cases pending. I have a total of 41 cases pending, going back, as I said earlier, 17 months. Of the cases I reviewed, TDOC designated 14 of those as Class B offenses, and even one of them, for some reason, they classified as, actually two of them, they classified as Cs. I've sent in 10 requests for more information so far for those cases. Of the 155 cases I reviewed, TDOC has already taken away over 1,400 months of sentence credits, which is a little over 118 years of sentence credit reduction so far. After careful review, I found 21 errors on the cases, the incidents that I reviewed. I'm recommending an additional 184 months of additional sentence credit reduction and the reinstatement of 12 months of sentence credits. As far as any kind of trends, I'd echo what everybody else said. Some improvement, but certainly a long way to go. The ones that just seem to have the most pending or most mistakes, again, are Whiteville, Trousdale, Turner, South Central, and West Tennessee. Prolific offenders, Mr. Stahl, I had two that stood out. The first one, the Thomas ID number is 512594. This inmate has 33 previous Class A's in the last 18 months. And then the second Thomas ID number is 605009. And that inmate had 21 previous Class A's in the 18 months. And that's all I have, sir, barring any questions. Thank you.
One quick question, Mr. Were those two, are they not on the list that you sent me most recently to send over to BOP?
No,
Are they-
they're on there.
They're on there, okay, okay,
Those were the worst of the worst, so to speak.
okay. Got it, thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept Mr. Sharon's document.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, okay, any discussion on, Mr. Sharon's February incidents? Okay, hearing none, move to a vote, all in favor of approving Mr. Sharon's, docket for February incidents, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir. Okay, our next presenter is Mr. Lindsay. However, I think, Mr. Lindsay, I see that you've joined us, but I also understand that you may have had, some surgery done. So I think you've spoken with, Chairman Vastbinder and are asking him to present your docket, but, would you be available for questions if there are any? If you can't talk, could you just give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, maybe on your screen, if you are available or are not available for questions? Okay, so, Mr. Lindsay, I think, had, a procedure done and he's, thankfully, he's able to log in and listen, but, if you have any questions, maybe we'll just pull those out and come back to them, just because he's not gonna be able to fully respond, but, for the portion of the docket that there are no questions and everybody can agree on, I'll have, Mr. Vastbinder present those, sir.
All right, sir. I had spoke to Mr. Lindsay actually while he was in the dentist office prior to finding out that he was gonna have oral surgery. And once he found out he was gonna have surgery yesterday, he asked me if I would present it. Mr. Lindsay has 20 cases, that were not okay. On those, the D board had taken 90 months. Mr. Lindsay has taken an additional 102 months, and he's given back 8 months. One of the cases at South Central, it was a first offense. Right, the guy had one prior, but it was an outside medical, that he bumped up. So the total number of months that Mr. Lindsay has taken additional on his this is his January cases, is 184 months.
Oh, I see it on 34 over here, okay. And he's returning 8, is that right?
Returning 8.
Okay.
And these are all January, so under the old matrix.
They're all the old matrix. A couple of them actually, like at Whiteville, the one that went the 15 and 18, the D board was done in February, and they used the new matrix.
Okay, great.
So moved.
Okay, motion,
Second.
seconded. Okay, any discussion on Mr. Lindsay's, incidents? Anyone need to pull out? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving, Mr. Lindsay's incidents for January incidents, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, hearing none. That motion passes. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Lindsay, as well. Okay, our next presenter, and we actually have two, Tammy, I see that behind, Mr. Lindsay's, does everybody have this in their packet? Does, Mr. Dunn, you have 2 pages, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, one of my pages are behind Mr. Lindsay's. But
No, mine is.
Yours is right, okay, great. Okay, Mr. Dunn, your docket, sir?
Excellent. Thank you all. Appreciate your patience with me. And Brother Lindsley, I understand what you're going through because I had oral surgery 2 weeks ago, and but I'm currently sitting outside my wife's hospital room for this meeting. So appreciate your patience with me not being there. As far as my cases are concerned, the 155 cases I was presented with, I'm amazed as far as a trend. A couple institutions, Hardeman and River Bend, I didn't find anything okay with any of their cases. And of all the cases I looked at, there were 33 cases of the 155 that are just not complete. And So the mathematicians out there, I think that's close to what, 20%, something like that. But anyway, long story short, for the sake of timing of the board, using the new matrix, the version 4, I guess you called it, I'm removing an additional 364 good credit behavior months away, and I could not find any case where any restitution needed to be made, where months needed to be added back in return for mistakes. And I do check that thoroughly, but just didn't have any again this month. So with the board's permission, I'd like to ask for a motion to remove the 364 and a couple other trends I'll mention after.
So move.
Second. Great, thank you. Okay, motion seconded. Any discussion on any of the incidents from Mr. Dunn? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. You can vote. All in favor of approving Mr. Dunn's docket for February incidents, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Did I hear you say that you might have a few more comments?
Yes, sir. Just one thing I wanted to add. I feel sorry for the public having to hear things like this, but it needs to be addressed because these are potential people rejoining society, and that's why we're supposed to look at things like this in good refined detail. But the indecent exposures, I appreciate the fact that this matrix allows maximum penalty for indecent exposures, and I understand the difference between an inmate lying in his bed and an officer walking by during a security check or during count and catching an offender masturbating in his bed versus an inmate standing on the second tier in front of everybody masturbating and exposing himself to female officers. Completely unacceptable and never should be acceptable. So I appreciate the growth in the matrix able to address those issues.
Yeah, I can see in Whiteville you had one where the original disciplinary was 0 for an indecent, and that's not acceptable. So yeah, I agree. Thanks for catching those. I think we can all agree that that's worthy of a maximum penalty for sure. Okay, well, thank you. Any other comments?
I would just like to say, I think I noticed that he said he was sitting outside of his wife's hospital room. We would still be praying for your wife, Mike, and her surgery that she had and everything.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you all.
Sure. Okay, thank you, Mr. Dunn. Okay, moving on, our next presenter, Ms. Doyle.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm not outside the hospital this morning, but I am waiting. As soon as we get done with this meeting, I've got to take my mother for another drainage appointment. So just pray for us.
So,
Lots of people need lots of prayers right now. So I have 116 to take away on my docket and 9 to give back. I had some that they took away outside. Even using the new matrix, they took out more than what they should have. Then I had some that they didn't take out any. I was like the chairman. I had some they didn't. Just decided I'm not going to take any disciplinaries months this time. I had 1, 2, 3, 4 of those this time. That's my docket for this time.
Motion to approve.
Second.
motion made, seconded. Any discussion on Ms. Doyle's incidents for February? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving Ms. Doyle's February incidents docket, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, hearing none, it passes. Thank you, Ms. Doyle. Any trends, comments, issues, anything of note that you'd like to add to your docket?
Other than the ones that they're not taking any, and I go back and look and see if there's any more, and there were not. If there was they didn't take any because they had something else. that was just unusual, but, that was at RMSI. So that, I don't know if they've got something going on over there. That's where the most of them came from.
Yeah, it sounds like we've heard Riverbend facility come up a few times in this meeting, so that's something we'll definitely need to check on. So thank you for catching that. Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to our final presenter, Dr. Karpos.
I had a total of 227 disciplinary hearings that I reviewed. 26% were dismissed, which is a little bit less than what's previously in terms of percentage been dismissed. So I'm glad to see that more and more of the cases are working their way through to completion. On my docket, I have, I'm requesting a total of 318 additional months be removed in relationship to 50 cases.
Okay, great.
Motion to approve.
Motion made,
Second.
seconded, okay. Any discussion on any of the incidents from Dr. Karpos' January incident list? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving Dr. Karpos' docket from January incidents, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, hearing none, it passes. Thank you, Dr. Karpos. Anything you'd like to add? Issues, comments, friends?
I would like to just remark on the fact that, along with what Mr. Carr said, I think we are seeing not only a lot of assaults on staff, but a lot of incredibly serious assaults on staff, which would be troubling on any day, I think. And I think as a board, we all are concerned about not only safety and well-being of the staff, but also safety and well-being of the offenders. I would like to highlight just, to me, what would seem to be extraordinary behaviors with regard to attacking staff. This particular incident happened at South Central, and it had to do with hitting the officer in the face with a closed fist. And after the officer fell to the ground from the blow, the person got on top of the officer's chest and put their hands around the officer's throat and was attempting to strangle them until other staff were able to arrive and assist the officer. And I think that's pretty shocking. Along with that, an incident happened at Turney. This had to do with an inmate striking two officers in the face with closed fist. One of the officers was knocked to the ground, and the inmate took the radio that the officer was wearing and used that radio as a weapon to beat the officer in the back of the head and the body. I found that shocking, but I want to also mention another incident, and this will be the last assault incident I want to talk about. Then I want to turn to contraband for a moment. And I think this one's an important one to highlight because sometimes we don't always think about how offenders themselves frequently intervene on behalf of injured or staff members who are being injured. And this had to do with an assault with weapon at Whiteville. And it had to do with the officer. It said she was struck in the face with an object. She was pushed to the ground, and the assailant attempted to stomp her. But other inmates in the area intervened and protected her. And she did sustain a fractured wrist. But I think it's important to also acknowledge that while there are some offenders who are wanting to harm staff, There are other offenders that despite their crime and despite the fact that they're incarcerated, they step up in a moment of danger to assist or protect a staff member. And I want to acknowledge that because I think that's important. And then lastly, I just want to say a couple of things about narcotics. At Morgan, one of the incidents that I handled had to do with 101 Suboxone strips. And that's a tremendous amount of Suboxone. The board decision was to take only 3 months from the person who had 101 strips of Suboxone. And I understand that in relationship to the fact that they're doing it on the basis of them only having one prior, but that is a tremendous amount of Suboxone.
I'm sorry, Doug, just real quick, when you say the board, you mean the disciplinary
board.
board, not this board?
Not this
Yeah,
board.
yeah, okay,
The D
just in
board.
case anyone's got any question about, we didn't decide to take
No,
3
we
months.
wouldn't decide
Okay,
that. And in
okay.
fact, that's why it's on the docket.
Okay.
And we improved the enhancement. The other case I'd like to mention that really troubled me was, it had to do with an inmate receiving legal mail. And the person delivering the mail recognized that there was something off because the seal was broken. And the mail actually contained 3 sheets of paper that were soaked with cannabinoids. And so, you know, I'd like to congratulate staff for being aware that even there's privilege to all sorts of privileges, including legal mail, recognizing that it had been tampered with and being able to identify that. I just want to congratulate them on that catch.
Excellent.
That's it.
Yeah, all good notes. I think it's great when we can identify incidents like that and highlight, you know, both good and bad. So, thank you for bringing those out, and that's excellent stuff. Okay, well, that concludes the adopted portion of the meeting. Typically, we'll go into public comment and then closing notes. But before we get into public comment, we have 2 outstanding issues that have been talked about earlier. So let's take those in order. The first question, that issue that we started talking about was the policy as it relates to pending investigations and whether or not the PDOC policy has perhaps a gap where due process requires incidents to be heard within a certain amount of time, but because these investigations seem to be taking much longer, that it seems to be conflictory with what the expectations are and when the actual incident gets heard. So there's a couple of points to that. One of the things that got brought up was whether or not that falls within our jurisdiction. Another question is, if it does fall within our jurisdiction, what do we want to do about it? What's the recommendation? Probably need to review what TDOC policy says, and then need to look at what incidents are in conflict with those, and then sort of bring all that together. So that's the first issue. So let's talk a little bit about how we want to handle that. So we can discuss that issue now. We can do it openly, just kind of talk about it here with everybody. We could move into an executive session, get some general counsel advice. We could roll the issue, and in the meantime, pose some questions to our general counsel so that he can do some research and present it to everybody. So those are kind of the options on that issue. What's the board's preference for that issue today?
Since I brought up the issue, I personally am comfortable with allowing our general counsel to investigate, examine. I certainly wouldn't expect him to be able to on the spot. You know, I think it's to everyone's advantage for him to be able to do some investigating and get back to us on that. And honestly, it hadn't even come to my mind until Chairman brought it up. So it was kind of just a train of thought.
Okay.
Motion to, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that would be my,
Well, she made, but I'll make a motion to roll it, give the council time to look at all of that, bring it back, what he finds
Okay.
on her recommendation.
Second.
That, okay, and just some discussion on that. Sometimes being in that position, it helps to present and offer a clear question to general counsel so that he knows what he's looking at and what you all need from him. So, let's, what are we asking, Mr. Brauberger to answer? I think from what I heard, what we need to know is what is TDOC's policy with regard to the time period for which a disciplinary is expected to be heard? Right?
Is that what you're?
Is that?
Well, I mean, that was in the training slides.
Well, I know, but I would hope you would put that in there, so,
I'm just wondering, how, I'm not sure I could phrase the question, but I'm just wondering because I, and obviously.
Can I?
Yes, what do you think the
Can I,
question
can I
is?
offer what I think I heard earlier?
Yeah.
It's like, is, complete due process analysis part of what we do here? It's kind
So
of what I got.
that's one, all right, so.
That was one part
that's
of it,
one.
so I mean, obviously, in order to do, is that within our scope? And what?
Let's say it is. Let's say it is.
Let's say that, then we're looking at what's TDOC policy
Okay.
on their due process and when things need to be filed and then if that's not 100% kosher,
What do we do?
at what point do we do something?
Okay. Do we
Is
all?
that close enough?
Well, and the real question for me is the problem is the time frame between when the incident actually occurred.
Right.
When the offender's actually being served, because when it's actually entered into Thomas, according to policy, a clock starts running and you have to serve them with it because you've entered it here. And then there's a clock on how quick the hearing has to transpire in relationship to that service. And when we come across these PINs, there's a long period of time. And so just trying to understand, does that in any way disenfranchise the offender?
Right.
We see a lot of dismissed because it wasn't served.
Yeah.
Dismissed because, some box hasn't been checked. But it seems like in these circumstances, well, it's a whole different set of rules. So just trying to understand, what are those rules? And where are they in policy, if not? If not in policy, suggest
Right.
put them
Well,
in
Well,
policy.
that's the last piece of that. Do we want Mr. Grauberg to offer advice on what to change? Or do we just want to answer those questions and then the board comes back and makes what they think the recommendation should be?
Mr. Grauberger likes that.
That was the Grauberger like that's it. But what does the board want?
I think that makes more sense also, because his role is to advise us, not to make
Okay.
decisions for us.
So there won't be any recommendations in there. It's just going to be flat answering those questions and then the board can decide how.
But the initial question is it even
Is that within the
under our
scope of our
mandate
authority? Yeah.
to address these issues?
Yeah.
Because that's,
That would dispose of the question.
Okay. I don't want to not give anyone online an opportunity to jump in. Does anyone online have anything they want to add to that?
I agree
No,
with
sir,
y'all's
not me.
discussion.
Okay, all right, great. So that's what we'll do on that first issue. We'll punt that to you, sir, and once you have something prepared, we'll distribute it. And then once we've distributed it, we can get together and decide when we want to come back and discuss those findings and that memorandum.
And if I could add, because this seems like a good point for it.
Yeah.
And you said it very well, Betsy, my job is to advise. And although I don't think a lawyer's ever said this on the record, I'm not always right. But I mean, I present you as the best I can and
That's
you
all.
all get to make the decision at the end of the day. What you do with it.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Okay, the next issue that got discussed was incidents that are falling under the newest matrix. And the reason I keep referring to it as version 4 is because I think it helps differentiate between what we were doing, because the months are still very close together. January incidents, we're only looking at February stuff now. So if you look at the matrix, you'll see that at the top of the newest one, the very, very top, to the left, it says version number 4-01-2026. So that's why I refer to it as version 4. And then on the old one, the one that just passed at the bottom, it says version 3, January 2025. So as a way of just differentiating between the two, I'm calling the newest one version 4.
Matrix.
That's fine. Matrix 4, version 4, whatever. Yeah. But that's the reason that I do that. So we have an issue now where there are differences between version 3 and version 4. Mr. Grauberger was able to put together a memorandum that may have touched on some of those differences. So we discussed earlier what those differences are and the interpretation of those differences and how we as a board in general want to apply those guidelines to incidents that fall under those guidelines. So what we have now is we have a memorandum that got sent out yesterday that touches on some of this stuff. But that memorandum, we have questions about, I think, and there may need to be further extrapolation about perhaps that memorandum. And that memorandum is available, I think, to everybody in their packet. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to read it. Hopefully you have. So what we can do now is we can either A, just have the discussion, sort of finish it. B, we can move into an executive session where Mr. Grauberger can describe what he's saying to everybody. Maybe we can find some gaps in it. We can ask questions. Or if everybody knows what their question is, that isn't addressed in the memorandum, we can just give that to Mr. Grauberger and do the same thing that we did in the last issue where he goes back, he answers the question, and then we come back together. What is the board's
I
preference?
thought we talked to Mr. Steele, I kind of say like, sorry. But, to go into to the next session and talk about it right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that sound good to everybody? We'll move into an executive session.
May I ask one question?
Yeah.
If it's possible that we could just clear one thing, and if there is confusion over it, then we'll go and bring that, but I'm hoping to keep this maybe out of that discussion, so we'll have a more cleaner discussion just about the memo.
Right.
It appears to me, and maybe it doesn't to others, but it appears to me that the note at the bottom on version 3, January 2025, is identical to the note at the top on version 4, with no language change whatsoever. It's just the word note is now an asterisk, but the language is the same. Is there any disagreement on that?
There's one very important word
Okay.
that's different.
And we'll go into whatever, but but the language is the same.
There's one very,
Okay, all
very
right,
different
I'm sorry.
word in there
Okay,
that
that's fine.
changes.
I was hoping we could take that one off the table, but okay.
Well, I mean, and
We'll leave it on.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about that. That's a good jumping off point for once we go into executive session. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the recording. Okay. 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 All right, that took a while. Okay, we're back in session. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to our general counsel for offering, as always, great legal advice. The discussion was good. No decisions were reached. It was just an opportunity to hear from counsel on some issues and some statutory language that I think was important to walk ourselves through. At this point, if it's okay with everybody, we will think about what we've heard, the questions and the answers, and we'll put this issue back on the agenda for further deliberation and discussion at the next public meeting. Is that okay with the board?
So move.
Okay, great. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, we can move that. All in favor, please say aye.
All
Aye.
Okay, all opposed? Okay, so this is rolled for a continuing discussion to the next meeting. Thank you, everybody. for the time and attention. I know, we're running a bit long today, but I do appreciate your patience with, I think these are important issues. Okay, just a few more things. We're gonna move to the public comment portion of the meeting. There is no public, in the room. There was no public before we moved into the executive session. Seeing none online, we'll move past that. We'll move into closing notes. A couple of things. Number one, I think we've mentioned a little bit, but continue to pray for board members and their families who are going through some things. It's a hard time. It never, it really isn't, you know, for everyone's got something, battles to fight, but we're with you. We appreciate your help, your attention, your support. So if there's anything anyone needs from each other, besides prayers, just reach out. And then the last thing is the May meeting date. When would everybody like to meet in May? We have on the calendar now, right now it would be the 27th. Nope, the 20th. The 20th. How does that work for everybody? That is the last day of school in Sumner County. And maybe Davidson as well, is that right?
Well, my kids are private, but, so I don't know about Davidson, but, I think it's Thursday or Friday.
Okay, so around that
So
time.
May the 20th is what we're gonna say for,
Well, that's what we have on the calendar now, unless you want to move it.
I'm good with the 20th.
I'm good with the
20th?
20th.
Okay, all right, so that will be our public meeting date, and I will send out the link for that and the agenda setting meeting invite as well, which will happen on the 13th. So we have things set for the 13th and the 20th at 10 o'clock. Other than that, I don't have anything. I will turn it back over to the chairman for adjournment or
Okay.
anything else.
When is Lee's election? Excuse me.
It would be the first Tuesday of May. Early voting started today.
May 5th, I believe.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
so move,
Second?
Second.
non-debatable.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Bye.
Aye.
Hey, let me call you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.